Today we are in verse 8 of Psalm chapter 5. And I just love these verses, and they're plentiful in the Word of God. But David needs direction. He's confused. He is displaced. He is out of his home. He's homeless. He's running for his life. He's hiding, seeking safety for him and his family. His enemies are after him. There's been a great betrayal. His son wants to kill him. It's as bad a situation as it can possibly be. And maybe you can identify with that today. I don't know where this broadcast finds you, but I'm sure every day there's somebody that just flicked it on because they needed it, and they're praying that God will give them something for today. And many of you track along with me every day, and I love that too. But let me speak to the person that is really confused right now. You're up against some real hardship. You're dealing with tragic injustice, and you don't know who can help you. You don't know where to turn. Maybe you're dealing with a really complex situation that's got all kinds of layered nuances to it, emotion, politics. I mean, it's thick and tangled. It's a tangled mess. Sometimes in our extended family situations, we get embroiled into these really high-strung, tangled messes that are just woven thick with decades and decades of unresolved conflict and emotion. Sometimes we're looking at opportunities, decisions before us. Sometimes we're looking at maybe reactions. Our circumstances have turned negative. Work, maybe you're oppressed at work. Maybe you're dealing with financial stress. Maybe you're looking at different paths to choose from. I don't know what your situation is, but confusion is a tough thing. And in this moment, apart from his orientation with God, without God, David would have just been really, really perplexed and very confused as to even why this was all happening and where it's all going, and certainly what it meant. So David wakes up, looks up, sets his face before the Lord, begins to reason through things. And if I can paraphrase, it's almost like he says, God, just think, help me think this out. Listen to my prayer. I need you right now. I need you to give me right thoughts. I know you don't take pleasure in the wicked. I know that evil isn't going to go on forever. I know that bloody, deceitful men are going to have to deal with you and your justice. I know that. I know you're going to hear my prayer. And God, I know I'm going to come into your house. I'm going to come back to your house. I'm going to look forward to your house. I know I'm going to stand before you and bow before you and worship in the multitude of your mercy. I know I'm the object of your mercy. I know by definition and by faith that you are a merciful God. But God, in the middle of this chaos and confusion, I need something. And this is really the first question, the first request, maybe, I guess. Everything else he's stating, it's almost he's maybe rhetorical is the word. He's reminding. It's almost like he's reminding God. He does ask God to listen to his prayer, but then he reminds God, now remember, God, you're this and you're this and you're going to do this, and I know this about you. But now verse 8, lead me, O Lord, in thy righteousness, because of mine enemies. Make thy way straight before my face. Now, just let that sink in for a minute. Lead me, O Lord, in thy righteousness, because of mine enemies. Make thy way straight before my face. So David wants to go one direction. He wants to go in the way of God's righteousness. That's the right path. And I love to think about this when I'm confused, or when I have, so many options in front of me as a leader, when I'm looking at decisions. This is like a go-to prayer for me. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. So when I'm looking at 10 options or 12 options or confusion, and I don't know which way to step, I remind myself of this. if I've got 10 options or 100 options or a million options, there's one of them that's God's will. There's one of them that's God's script for me. And that's kind of what David is saying. God, there's a way through this trial, this confusion, this betrayal, this treason. There's a path, and I need you to clear the path. I need you to show me that way. And my friend, I guess I want to start by asking, do you want that way? A lot of times I talk to Christians and they don't want the will of God. And I don't understand that. Like, I wouldn't in a million years want my way over God's. That's just so foolish. It's so ridiculous to think that I am smarter, wiser. I'm gonna invent a new word, gooder. Okay, that I could be better to me than God could is unthinkable. It's the height of foolishness. So, do you want God's right way? And if you do, in your confusion, as you're looking at your ocean of options, simplify it. Look up. Instead of weighing the pros and cons, weighing pros and cons is no way to make a decision. It's the worst way to make a decision. Okay. Well, how's this gonna? What if? And weighing all the possibilities. I'm not saying don't think through them. I'm saying don't let that make your decision. At the end of the day, you got to look up and you got to say, God, we want to obey you. We want to walk your way. We want your path through these woods, through this confusion, out of this trial, out of this hardship. God, lead me in thy righteousness. The prayer lead me is so precious to me and so powerful to me. It is the act, I talked about it Sunday, of reaching up and grabbing God's hand. Ephesians 5. Be ye therefore followers of God as dear children. Reaching up in confusion, grabbing a hold of God's hand and saying, God, you lead me through this chaos, through this wickedness, through this betrayal, through this woundedness. You lead me through this hurt. God, I want to follow you. My friend, there is a path. There's a right path. And there's a hand you can hold and a prayer you can pray and a God you can trust to lead you through that difficult situation. He will lead you. Why did David pray this prayer? Because of mine enemies. God, when I look out there, I get confused. I get perplexed. I want to justify myself. I want to fight back. I want to prove my critics wrong. I get all embroiled into the emotions and the tangled mess. So God, protect me from that. And because my enemies want to destroy or deter or distract me or derail me, God, I'm grabbing a hold of your hand and I need you to lead me in your righteousness, your right path. And Lord, please, look at the last part of the prayer. Please make your way straight before my face. Take what is confusing and crooked and tangled. Take the path that is snarled over and overgrown and clear that path and make it straight. There's a lot of paths in Connecticut. And earlier last week, I took a bike ride on the Farmington River Trail. And I noticed something as I was biking that trail. A lot of beauty. It's just a beautiful trail. And the river's beautiful. The trees are budding and the leaves are growing. But you know what I noticed was a lot of stumps, a lot of sawdust. And I remember last late summer, a hurricane blew through, straight up through the eastern seaboard and up into Connecticut. And it took down a lot of trees. And I remember significant parts of that trail were closed for several weeks as the crews came in to big chainsaws and machinery to clear the path and remove those trees and repair the fence railings and different things. And sometime during the winter, or maybe early spring, sometime during the last season when I wasn't riding that trail, they went in there and they chopped down a bunch of trees. I mean, a bunch of trees. And they cleared the path. Why? Because they anticipate more wind and more storms. And they know that weak trees over time that are decaying or dying are just waiting for the right wind to come and blow them down. And so probably an arborist went through, looked at the trees along that trail and marked them and then crews came through and cleared them out and hauled them away. Why? Because they want the bikers and the moms walking their kids in strollers and kids on bikes and rollerblades and skateboards and just elderly couples walking that trail to do so in safety. Dana and I, this past week, took a hike, a 3-mile hike up in a reservoir, near a reservoir up above kind of Middletown, Meriden area. And we took a long walk. It was 3 miles. And I noticed on that trail that somebody had made the way. Somebody had cleared rocks. Somebody had dug a ditch on one side so the water wouldn't flood the trail. Somebody had, over different little ravines, had placed, some wooden bridges and little metal, sheet metal, paths to go across. Somebody had gone before and made the path possible. And my friend, that's what David is praying, and it's a great prayer. It shows up multiple times in the Old Testament. God, go before me and make the crooked places straight. Show me where to step. Show me what steps to take. Lead me and guide me. So my friend, God does have a will for you. God has a plan for you. He's got a path for you to walk. And in your confusion, look up, grab a hold of his hand, say, lead me, and he will. Happy Thursday. See you tomorrow.